short for it. It took my colleagues and I more than 2 years to prove it. I'm hoping that one of you might prove it by the end of the semester.
From the movie's title, Good Will Hunting, 1997, one might initially want to scroll over to the next at first glance. But as they always say, never judge a book by its cover. This brilliant film is deeply psychological, with a plot that challenges how we think and perceive life. However, despite being a fan favorite and getting many awards and recognitions, there are some hidden facts about this movie that many have never gotten to know. Join us today as we unravel 20 weird facts about this extraordinary masterpiece. Are you ready? Number 20. The first draft of the film's script was very different.
Known someone that could level you with her eyes.
Audiences worldwide may not be aware of the benefits of producing a great movie, but we certainly know how to appreciate one when we see it. Good Will Hunting, 1997, falls into this very category. What if we told you that it took several efforts and alterations to arrive at the movie's script you watched? This fact might be challenging to believe, as most of you think that most movies were based on novels or plays. Well, Good Will Hunting wasn't produced that way. In 2013, the chief writer of the movie, Matt Damon, revealed to Boston Magazine that he began writing Good Will Hunting as his final assignment for a playwriting class at Harvard University. According to him, instead of writing a one-act play, he submitted a 40-page script instead, to the surprise of his lecturers. Matt Damon also included his then-girlfriend Skylar Satinstein, who was a medical student, into his script. She was credited in the closing credits of the film. After Matt Damon completed that course, he brought the script to the notice of his childhood best friend Ben Affleck and asked him to retouch the script. In 1994, Damon and Affleck had already completed the script. At first, it was a thriller about a very smart young man in tough South Boston, and the government tries to force him to join them. We came up with this idea of the brilliant kid and his townie friends, where he was special and the government wanted to get their mitts on him. It had a very Beverly Hills Cop, Midnight Run sensibility, where the kids from Boston were giving the NSA the slip all the time, Affleck told the magazine. We would improvise and drink like 6 or 12 beers or whatever and record it with a tape recorder. At the time, we imagined the professor and the shrink would be Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro, so that we would do our imitations of Freeman and De Niro. It was hopelessly naive and embarrassing in that respect. Matt Damon later revealed that the only scene that survived from his initial draft was the one in which his character, a math genius, meets his psychologist, played by Williams. When they were finally satisfied with the script, Castle Rock Entertainment bought it for $675,000 against $775,000. If the movie had been made and Damon and Affleck had stayed the only writers, they would have received an extra $100,000. However, Castle Rock didn't buy the script right away. Its president, Rob Reiner, asked them to remove the thriller parts and focus more on Will's bond with his therapist. The movie's script also sparked a rumor ever since its release. Many believe that William Goldman helped write the script, uncredited. According to William Goldman, these rumors erupted because nobody wanted to believe that these two cute guys, Damon and Affleck, wrote the script. He was friendly with the two, so he read the script and offered some advice that aligned with the former advice given to them, to lose the government angle. Screenwriter William Goldman was asked to read the script at President Reiner's request. Also, William Goldman has consistently denied the persistent rumor. He said he didn't write Good Will Hunting or act as a script doctor. Goldman jokingly wrote in his book, Which Lie Did I Tell?, that he did not just doctor it, he wrote the whole thing from scratch before dismissing the rumor as false. He said that his only advice was to agree with Reiner's suggestion. After the script was finally ready for production, Affleck and Damon wanted to act in the lead roles. But that wasn't feasible because they already had two actors in mind. Meanwhile, Kevin Smith was working with Affleck on Mallrats and with Damon and Affleck on Chasing Amy. Suddenly, Castle Rock Entertainment put the script in turnaround and gave Damon and Affleck 30 days to find another buyer for the script, who would then reimburse the money Castle Rock Entertainment paid. The condition was that if a buyer wasn't found soon, the script would be given to Castle Rock Entertainment. This meant that Damon and Affleck would be out. On the other hand, studios were not helping much, as all of the studios that were involved in the original bidding war for the screenplay turned Damon and Affleck down. Now the big question is, how did they eventually get a buyer who allowed them to star in the movie as leads? Number 19, Kevin Smith saved the day.
We've been taught to just power through, get to the other side, fake it until you can make it.
When Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were at a loss for what to do or who to turn to, Ben Affleck summoned the courage to pass the script to Kevin Smith, his director of Chasing Amy. In Affleck's recollection, Kevin Smith said the movie was too beautiful and he wouldn't dare direct it. However, Smith's recollection was more self-deprecating. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were like, "Why don't you direct it?" But I was like, "That's awesome, but we need someone good." After Kevin Smith read it, he promised to take the script directly into Harvey Weinstein's office at Miramax Films. True to his word, Kevin Smith did just that, and Weinstein read the script, loved it, and paid Castle Rock Entertainment for the script. He also agreed to let Damon and Affleck star in the film. It is not that Castle Rock didn't like the script, they loved the screenplay. However, they only disagreed with the writers on who should direct it. Damon and Affleck wanted to do it themselves, and Castle Rock thought that the idea was preposterous. It was Castle Rock's loss for choosing to look down on Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. It wouldn't be surprising to know that they must have regretted not letting the writers have their way, as the film later went on to win several awards. Number 18. Robin Williams and Stellan Skarsgård were closer than you think. Stellan Skarsgård, who starred as Professor Gerald Lambeau, revealed that he loved working with Robin Williams, who starred as Dr. Sean Maguire. Although these characters fall out in the movie and later reunite, their relationship is genuine and pure. Skarsgård loved Williams because, by his admission, he wasn't great at improvising, and he was working alongside the king of improvisation. Williams would act out the same scene in different styles, pretending to be actors like Jack Nicholson or Jimmy Cagney. He did this a few times before slowly becoming the real character, Sean. Skarsgård said messing up a bit helped keep the acting fresh and not too perfect. Fans made fun of Professor Lambeau's outfit because he always wore it, even though Skarsgård didn't know why. He said it wasn't his idea. It came from the costume designer, but he agreed because he wanted the character to look like a rebellious, edgy professor instead of a typical one in tweed. While Williams, on the other hand, becomes the fans' favorite. Sean Maguire is one of the most beloved characters in the film. He is Hunting's psychologist, who was reportedly based on Damon's mother and Ben Affleck's father. What drew me to the role was just the idea of a guy trying to give back, who hadn't been practicing in a while. Here he is, a vet with a history, with a life, an intelligent guy who admits he's not as brilliant as the kid, but who is saying, "You're brilliant, but you don't know about certain things." That appealed to me deeply. Williams told Boston Magazine, "What can you give a kid like that? The one thing you can give him is just saying, I can only offer you a certain point of view. It's almost like going through rehab and just trying to say, I know who you are, I know who you think you are. Let's try to get down to who you are." Ben Affleck told the magazine in a separate interview that Robin Williams, who sadly passed away in 2014, was the rainmaker who ensured the film would be made. Number 17. Damon now hates the hair that was on Will's head. At the time the film was shot, Matt Damon was a massive fan of his frosted tips and curly hair. However, he views that very differently now. As he told an interviewer in 2012, "That is so my fault. For whatever reason at that age, I loved that haircut." Gus was like, "Really?" Ben was like, "Really?" If you look at Ben's hair in that movie, it's totally acceptable by today's standards, but no, I wanted the frosted F. I don't know what my problem was. I looked like I should be singing backup for Color Me Bad. Number 16. Castle Rock wanted to cast Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. As earlier revealed, after Matt Damon and Ben Affleck made rewrites according to Castle Rock's demand, they both grew so frustrated when Castle Rock refused to read them. They even added something so strange to the script to see if the executives would notice, and to their expectation, they didn't. Aside from that, Castle Rock also didn't want Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to be cast as leads. They actually wanted actors Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio would have just starred in The Basketball Diaries 1995, while Brad Pitt would have been coming off the back of Seven 1995. Fortunately, Damon and Affleck insisted on their offer as they both delivered on their roles, and the movie turned out to be a great masterpiece. Number 15. The film was supposed to be rated PG-13. Good Will Hunting was supposed to be rated a PG-13 movie for reasons best known to its producers. Midway through production, Miramax pushed the idea of making the film PG-13. He explained to Matt Damon that he advocated for this because he believed the script should contain no more than 3 F-bombs. In response to him, Matt Damon asked, "How many are they over?" After the Miramax executive checked his notes, he said 145. Number 14. The film almost had a G*YS*X scene. When Castle Rock repeatedly asked Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to rewrite without making any progress, they both began to feel like the executives weren't even reading the new drafts. So in return, they decided to add a paragraph-long screen direction describing Sean and Will going at it. And as they expected, nobody said anything about it because they didn't even read it. This might have been part of the reason why the duo stubbornly refused to drop their demands of starring in the movie. Number 13. Skyler's character was based on a real person. As earlier revealed, at one point in Matt Damon's life, there used to be a Skyler who was a medical student and his ex-girlfriend. Well, guess what? She inspired Skyler in the movie. Damon met Skyler Sattenstein while he was at Harvard. Sadly, just before filming started, Skyler left him for Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich. Matt Damon later revealed that he lost the love of his life to a rock star who has got $80 million and his own jet, a bad rock star too. However, Matt Damon didn't brood over her for too long as he quickly moved on to Minnie Driver, whom he dated briefly before they split up after the film's release. According to the movie's plot, it is evident that Matt Damon never really got over Skyler Sattenstein, as we thought he did, or why else would he have brought in a character based on her? Number 12. There was a lot of sleeping on duty. Do you remember that scene where Will and Skyler are in bed and she's talking about being an NBA player? Shooting that scene must have been chaotic, as Will appears sleepy and mumbling, likely because Matt Damon was actually asleep. There is also a lot of footage of Skyler without Will in shot. Van Sant had to improvise too, and ended up shooting around him while he was asleep. Number 11. Mel Gibson almost directed the movie. The movie's director, Gus Van Sant, was undoubtedly not the first in line for the job of directing Good Will Hunting. Ben Affleck once asked Kevin Smith to direct the movie, but Kevin Smith humbly refused, stating that the material deserved a better director. However, he agreed to come on as an executive producer. After Miramax bought the script from Castle Rock, the company began setting up meetings with various potential directors, including Mel Gibson, who was a hot commodity at the time because of Braveheart. Top of Miramax's list was actually Mel Gibson, who came straight off the back of Braveheart 1995. Mel Gibson met up with Affleck and Damon, who hadn't seen Braveheart. Weinstein also advised them to express their love for it to get on his good side, and it worked. Mel Gibson was interested, and he spent a few months developing the project. He had been producing the film for quite a while before Damon spoke to him about the length of time it was taking. According to Matt Damon, he and Affleck were getting old and wouldn't be able to play the parts. Damon politely asked if he might consider stepping aside for someone who really had a passion for it, and Gibson agreed. Steven Soderbergh was also wanted for a while before Michael Mann came to the party. The issue with Soderbergh was that he wanted to make a couple of drastic changes in the script. He thought Will and his crew should be car thieves, and he didn't like Matt Damon in the lead. The producers got Mann to agree to screen test Damon, and although he still didn't want him, they did, so they parted ways with Mann. It was at this point that Van Sant came in, after Damon and Affleck made the suggestion, because they thought his style was perfect for the material. Good Will Hunting turned out to be Van Sant's most successful film to date. Not only that, it made just $9 million less than all of his other 16 films combined. Van Sant used to be a director of small, independent features and not blockbusters. The $263.5 million that Good Will Hunting made worldwide is more than 3 times as much as his second most profitable film, 2000's Finding Forrester, earned at the global box office. Number 10, a line in the movie was inspired by Brando. Brando inspired a particular line in the movie. In the Harvard bar scene, Morgan, played by Casey Affleck, says, "I swallowed a bug." This line comes from an obscure reference point. It's a line that Brando says in Apocalypse Now, 1979, but not precisely in the film. It's in the Apocalypse Now making of documentary Hearts of Darkness, 1991. In one of the takes, Brando stops mid-take because he has something in his mouth and says he swallowed a bug. Number 9. Some of its scenes were shot on set and location. The filming of Good Will Hunting took place between April and June 1997. Although the story is set in Boston, with many of its scenes shot on location in the greater Boston area, many of the interior shots were filmed at locations in Toronto, with the University of Toronto standing in for MIT and Harvard University. The classroom scenes were filmed at McLennan Physical Laboratories of the University of Toronto and Central Technical School. Harvard normally disapproves of filming on its property, but they permitted limited filming by the project after Harvard alumnus John Lithgow intervened. Likewise, only the exterior shots of Bunker Hill Community College were filmed in Boston. However, Sean's office was built in Toronto as a replica of one at the college. The interior bar scenes set in Southie were shot on location at Woody's L Street Tavern. Meanwhile, the homes of Will, 190 West 6th Street, and Sean, 259 East Street, although portrayed as some distance apart in the film, are actually next door to each other on Bowen Street, the narrow street that Chucky drives on to walk up to Will's back door. The Bow and Arrow pub, which was located at the corner of Bow Street and Massachusetts Avenue in Cambridge, doubled as the exterior of the Harvard bar where Will meets Skyler for the first time. The Baskin-Robbins/Dunkin' Donuts featured in the How Do You Like Them Apples scene was next door to the pub at the time of the film's release. The Harvard bar interior scenes were filmed at the Upfront Bar and Grill on Front Street E in Toronto. The Tasty at the corner of JFK and Brattle Streets was the scene where Will and Skyler had their first kiss. The O'Bompain, where Will and Skyler discussed the former's photographic memory, was at the corner of Dunster Street and Mass Ave. The Boston Public Garden bench on which Will and Sean sat for a scene in the film became a temporary shrine after Robin Williams passed away in 2014. Good Will Hunting ends with the credits rolling over a continuous shot of the car Will is driving to California, with the songs Miss Misery and Afternoon Delight playing on the soundtrack. It was shot on a stretch of the Massachusetts Turnpike. The car eventually disappears down the road after passing under the bridge carrying the West Stockbridge Road. Number 8. The park scene was shot with a lot of people around. Remember that park scene where Will and Sean sat on the bench? There were actually thousands of people around watching the scene play out because word had gotten out that the legendary Robin Williams was filming there. Van Sant's direction to Williams during this scene was simple: keep talking. Located in Boston's Public Garden, the bench where Dr. McGuire and Will have their iconic, crucial scene has been a significant part of Good Will Hunting since the film's release. After Williams passed away in 2014, that's where fans memorialized him. That bench is now a memorial to the memory of the great Robin Williams. Number 7. The cast didn't receive a warm welcome from the locals. As much as Robin Williams was loved, he didn't receive a warm welcome from locals at first. When Robin Williams signed up for the role of Sean, he wanted to take in the sights, sounds, and smells of South Boston, and asked Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to show him around. They took him to a bar called the L Street Tavern. When they arrived, they were suddenly surrounded by everyone in the bar being mean to them. One asked Robin Williams where his yacht was, while another started a fight with Affleck because he had a baseball cap on backwards. They eventually got out unscathed, but Williams loved it and suggested to Harvey Weinstein that they use the bar for the Harvard bar scene. He got his wish, but Weinstein called Affleck and Damon up and told them, "Don't take Robin to any other locations." Number 6. Morgan's role was created on set. Van Sant played a crucial role in casting Casey Affleck as Morgan O'Malley, impressed by his work in To Die For in 1995. He wanted Affleck to star in the movie. Originally, Casey was going to make a documentary on the making of the film, but he didn't have an agent or manager, so Van Sant just kept on at him until he said yes. The weird thing about this was that Morgan O'Malley improvised most of his dialogue. Aside from Morgan, Robin Williams also did a lot of improvisation on set. 2 years ago, Van Sant spoke about Good Will Hunting at the Tribeca Film Festival, and according to the Huffington Post, he gushed over how creative Robin Williams was during filming. In addition to improvising lines when Damon's character splits at the end of the movie, Robin Williams went off script and said, "Son of a B**************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************̈̈̈ Really goofed off between takes. The one thing that was going on, which is a tragedy, I wasn't rolling the cameras, was especially in Sean's office. We would do long takes, and since it was on film, we didn't have modern conveniences like focus, which made it harder, and we had to measure everything. The camera would work its way around the room, and the characters were working their way around the room, and they would have to freeze while we pulled focus, Van Sant explained. So you would do the lines to make sure you knew where you were going to be in the room, and Robin would do his part as Janet Reno, and Matt would do his part as Daffy Duck. Then the next time around, Robin would choose a different character, Frankenstein, and Matt would be Nixon. he added. Number 5. The film featured a famous Yellowstone face. Do you know that Good Will Hunting featured a famous cast from Yellowstone in it? While you might not recognize him in his youth, a young Cole Hauser, who plays the role of Rip in the famed neo-Western series Yellowstone, brought to life one of Will Hunting's friends, Billy McBride. He was raw talent, just astonishing and just the sweetest soul, said Matt Damon of Hauser on an episode of the Bill Simmons podcast. Number 4. Gus Van Sant begged Casey Affleck to star in the film. According to Gus Van Sant, Casey Affleck, who played Hunting's pal Morgan O'Malley in the film, simply wanted to make a documentary about the making of the film rather than appearing in it. He later agreed to do it after much pleading and persuasion. It was kind of up to us to beg him, the director told Variety last year. He also didn't have an agent, which was funny. He didn't see why he needed one. They had to go directly to him to persuade him. Number 3. The film sparked a lot of scholarly interest. Good Will Hunting was not only a masterpiece because of its excellent plot, but the movie also sparked a lot of scholarly interest. The film is based on 20-year-old Will Hunting of South Boston, who is a self-taught math genius. Being a victim of circumstance, he was recently paroled after completing a prison term. He then begins to work as a janitor at MIT and spends his free time drinking with his friends Chucky, Billy, and Morgan. When Professor Gerald Lambeau posts a complex graph theory mathematics problem on a blackboard as a challenge for his graduate students, Will solves the problem anonymously, stunning both the students and Lambeau. As a challenge to the unknown genius, Lambeau posts an even more difficult situation, which he later catches Will writing the solution on the blackboard late at night. In the movie, Professor Flambeau initially thinks Will is vandalizing it and chases him off. However, Lambeau soon realizes that Will was not vandalizing the problem, but solving it. Realizing his mistakes, he asks the campus maintenance staff about Will's whereabouts, but is informed he did not turn up for work. Lambeau learns Will was placed at MIT by a parole program and obtains his parole officer's details. The producers of the movie definitely didn't know that those scenes where Will displays his mathematical skills would later turn out to be a topic of discussion for scholars. In the spring of 1997, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck asked Kleitman to teach them math to write realistic dialogue. So Kleitman invited postdoc Tom Bowman to join him, giving them a quick lecture. When asked for a problem that Will could solve, Kleitman and Bowman suggested the unsolved computer science P versus NP problem. But the film used other issues. Near the start of the film, Will sets aside his mop to study a complex problem posed by Professor Lambeau on the blackboard. The problem has to do with an intermediate level of graph theory, but Lambeau describes it as an advanced Fourier system. Aside from the math's interest, research also shows that several scholars have examined the role of class, religion, and the cultural geography of Boston in the film. Jeffrey Herlihy-Mera observed that the residual Catholic-Protestant tensions in Boston are an essential backdrop in the film, as Irish Catholics from Southie are aligned against ostensibly Protestant characters who are affiliated with Harvard and MIT. Emmett Wynn has argued that character interactions show class conflict and stunted social mobility, while similarly, David Lipset commented that class inequality is a driving subtext. Number 2, Terrence Malick helped out with the film's ending. The film's ending is credited to director Terrence Malick by Affleck and Damon. Ben Affleck knew him because he was friends with his godfather, so they went to see him and explained the plot of the film. At this stage, Will and Skylar leave together at the end of the film, but Malick suggested Will go after her instead. The work of Michelangelo Antonioni inspired it. He said in Italian movies, a guy just leaves town at the end and that's enough. Damon and Affleck loved it. Sunday Times film critic Tom Schoen shared on his website that Damon credited director Malick, who is friends with Ben Affleck's godfather, with giving them the film's ending. We went to Boston to see him, and we had it in the script that my character and Minnie's left together at the end of the movie. Terry didn't read the script, but we explained the whole story to him, and in the middle of the dinner he said, "I think it would be better if she left and he went after her," Damon said. And Ben and I looked at each other. It was one of those things where you go, "Of course that's better." He said it, and he probably doesn't even remember saying it. He started talking about Antonioni. In Italian movies, a guy just leaves town at the end and that's enough. And we said, of course, that's enough. That's where we come from. If you just leave, that's a big enough deal. It doesn't have to build up to anything more. Number 1, the film almost had a different ending. Before Terrence Malick told Affleck and Damon over dinner that the film ought to end with Will's decision to follow his girlfriend Skylar to California, not them leaving together, the duo had a different ending in mind. Near the start of the film, Will and his buddies get into a fight with Carmine Scarpaglia. In an early draft of the film, Carmine and his crew come back at the end of the film and murder Goodwill. Matt Damon said one of the endings he and Ben Affleck toyed with was where Carmine came back with his boys and a baseball bat to murder Will Hunting, who deep down actually wanted to be murdered. It was his way of getting out. It would have been just as he's setting off for San Francisco. Also, at one point in the rewriting process after Van Sant was on board as director, he said, "I want Chucky to get flattened on a construction site, crushed like a bug." Van Sant proposed that this would be the climax to the movie's second act. However, Affleck and Damon protested, but they wrote it. After Van Sant read it, he said it's a terrible idea. The film's ending goes thus. After Sean helped Will manage his problems, Sean reconciles with Lambeau and decides to take a sabbatical. Will's friends then give him a used car for his 21st birthday so he can commute to work. Later, Chucky goes to Will's house to pick him up, only to find that he is not there, much to his happiness, as Will had finally done what Chucky had been wishing for all these years. Will leaves a note for Sean asking him to tell Lambeau that he had to go see about a girl, revealing he instead chose to reunite with Skylar, much to Sean's approval. Good Will Hunting is a 1997 American drama film directed by Gus Van Sant and written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. It stars Robin Williams, Damon Affleck, Stellan Skarsgård, and Minnie Driver. In the film's opening weekend in limited release, it grossed $272,912. When it opened nationwide in January 1998, it grossed $10,261,471 for the weekend. It went on to gross $138,433,435 in the United States and Canada, surpassing Pulp Fiction as Miramax's highest-grossing film in that market at the time. It grossed $225,033,435 worldwide. Good Will Hunting grossed over $225 million during its theatrical run against a $10 million budget. At the 70th Academy Awards, it received nominations in 9 categories, including Best Picture and Best Director. It won in 2: Best Supporting Actor for Williams and Best Original Screenplay for Affleck and Damon. In 2014, it was ranked at number 53 in the Hollywood Reporter's 100 Favorite Films list. With these numerous awards, Good Will Hunting will remain on the screens for a very long time. Don't you agree? How did you feel after you watched Good Will Hunting? Does the movie deserve all the accolades given to it? Share with us in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.